Trick or treat, trick or treat, give me something good to eat. Who could have known that a family-friendly, loved-by-children holiday could hold so many morbid and dark incidents throughout its history? Here's 15 scary things that actually happened on Halloween that will make you feel creeped out and very, very uneasy. The most frightening thing about the graveyard kit bought from Kmart was the note an Oregon woman found inside. It was written by a Chinese factory worker who claimed he and others were tortured and enslaved in a forced labor camp making toys 15 hours a day with no pay and days off. He went on to plead for the letter to be forwarded to the World Human Rights Organization. The woman did just that, and the Chinese worker was freed when the camp was exposed months later. The year was 1957, Halloween night. A couple was getting ready for bed when the doorbell rang. It was late, but the husband answered the door, ready to dole out more candy. Instead, an adult wearing a mask shot him in the chest, killing him. Was it a trick-or-treater dissatisfied with the candy selection? Not quite. The murderer, it turns out, was the girlfriend of a woman who had had an affair with the murdered man's wife. The woman convinced her girlfriend to do away with the husband in order to have the wife for herself. Candy might be important, but it's certainly not worth your life. It was Halloween night in 2011 when a 55-year-old Chicago resident realized his candy bag was missing. He blamed a neighbor for the missing sweets and took his revenge to an extreme, stabbing her to death with several steak knives. Halloween is known for both tricks and treats, but some pranks just go too far. In 1998, a Bronx man was in the car with his girlfriend to pick up her 9-year-old son from a Halloween party. When a group of teens started egging the car, the man got out and an argument started. After he sat back down in the car, though, one of the teenagers shot him fatally in the head. In 1974, 8-year-old Timothy O'Brien died on Halloween evening after eating candy laced with cyanide. But the story has an even more horrific twist. It turned out the candy was poisoned by Timmy's father, Ronald, who was in financial trouble and had taken out insurance policies on his children. In addition to Timmy, Ronald O'Brien gave poisoned candy to 4 other children, including his daughter, Elizabeth. Thankfully, none of them ate it. O'Brien was executed by lethal injection in 1984. In 2005, a 42-year-old woman in Delaware took her own life by hanging herself from a tree across the street from a residential area. Though the body was easily visible to passers-by and passing vehicles, no one called the police for hours. Why? They assumed the woman swaying in the wind was a Halloween decoration. A Halloween party in San Antonio, Texas, was in full force in 2016 when a man dressed as Freddy Krueger showed up uninvited. He opened fire on the crowd, shooting 5 people. One night in Long Island just before Halloween 2014, a decapitated body laid in the street 5 feet away from a severed head. To many passers-by, the horrific sight appeared to be a Halloween prank, but the truth was far more disturbing. 35-year-old Derek Ward had used a kitchen knife to kill and decapitate his mother, Patricia, then carried the body and head out of their apartment. After leaving the body and head on the street, Ward jumped in front of a commuter train, killing himself. In 1963, many Hoosiers decided to spend Halloween night at the Indiana State Fairgrounds Coliseum watching a Holiday on Ice skating exhibition. Unbeknownst to them, a rusty tank in the concession area began to leak gas. The room, which lacked ventilation, quickly filled with gas. As the skaters performed their grand finale, the gas reached an electric popcorn maker, triggering a huge explosion. 74 people were killed and nearly 400 were injured. "29 years ago, 16-year-old Japanese exchange student Yoshihiro Hattori dressed up as John Travolta's character from Saturday Night Fever, then headed out to a Halloween party in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Tragically, he was mistakenly dropped off at the wrong house, and the homeowner, panicked by the unexpected visitor, shot and killed Hattori. The homeowner was later acquitted of any wrongdoing. Hattori's mother commented on the 20th anniversary of her son's death. "I've been observing American society for the past 20 years. The ongoing situation there has been incomprehensible to Japanese. I want to encourage more ways to adopt gun control." In Scream, killers wearing ghost face masks callously murdered the people in their town. Chillingly, on Halloween night 2013, someone wearing the same ghost face mask shot and killed 19-year-old Anthony Saberi before disappearing into the New York night. In 1945, teenagers in Toronto spent Halloween night rioting and building large bonfires that they stoked with gasoline. When police descended upon the scene, the teenagers fought back, throwing rocks and blocking the fire department from putting out the fires. Soon, police arrested 14 of the rioters, but instead of calming things, this led to a mob of thousands of teenagers gathering in protest. The teenagers were only dispersed after being doused with water cannons and tear gas. The impetus for this uprising is unknown, still to this day. In 1982, 69-year-old Marvin Brandland was getting ready for bed after a night of handing out Halloween candy when there was one more knock at his door. Brandland opened the door to find someone wearing a pillowcase over their head with the holes cut out for eyes. The figure said, "Trick or treat, give me your money or I'll shoot." Then he pulled out a gun and ordered Brandland into his basement where Brandland kept a safe. Brandland, figuring this was a prank since only family members knew about the safe, grabbed for the gun. The person in the pillowcase fired, hitting Brandland in the throat, killing him. The killer fled, leaving the pillowcase in the scene. In 2010, the pillowcase was tested for DNA, but there wasn't enough DNA on it to make a match. In 1990s, Chicago area teenager Brian Jewell's job was to give hayride customers a scare by pretending to hang from a gallows. Jewell had pulled off the stunt just fine earlier in the day, but that night something went terribly wrong. When the hayride approached Jewell, who was hanging from the gallows with his feet touching the ground, the tractor driver began to worry. The driver's worries only grew when Jewell failed to deliver his usual speech. According to the prosecutor, there were no signs of foul play. On Halloween in 1984, 8-year-old Brian Massey should have been enjoying a night of trick-or-treating with his sisters, Tiffany, 11, and Tamara, 10. Instead, he was subjected to a real-life horror film when his new stepfather, 26-year-old David Andrews, stabbed his mother to death before chasing his sisters down the hall and murdering them as well. Andrews then came into Massey's room covered in blood and kidnapped the boy. 2 days later, police found Massey alive after apprehending Andrews, who had tried and failed to kill himself. Disturbingly, Andrews struck a plea deal in exchange for a reduction of charges. He was eligible to be paroled in 2016, which then a 41-year-old Massey vehemently opposed. And that is it for the video. Let me know in the comments which story you thought was the most disturbing. I personally thought the stories with the gallows involved were extremely disturbing and creepy. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more content. And do not forget to check out the spooky mystery link in the description that I left for you. I promise you won't be disappointed. If you're celebrating Halloween this year, please be careful and have a great time. I will see you in my next video.